Hey everyone, welcome back to the vlog. Holy cow, we made it to the conclusion in our 3-part series, Never Take Money from a VC. If you missed part number 1 or part number 2, I'll include links in the description down below. You should definitely watch those episodes first. I want to take a second to thank everyone for all the comments you've made on YouTube and on Twitter and on email. You've had a lot of thoughts around what you'd like to see next, and so I think I know what's coming next. Stick around to the very end and I'll give you a preview of that. I still have a few days to decide, but I think I know what I'm going to do next. Okay, on to part number 3. As a reminder, I did this at the exact same time as part number 1 and part number 2. I was originally just going to do 1 episode, but it ended up being way too long. Of the 3 parts, this was definitely the most fun to film. I laughed a bunch at myself. I also really stretched my non-existent Final Cut Pro skills to do some special effects right around the middle part. So give me your feedback on that. Keep the comments coming. I'll be back at the very end with some final wrap-up thoughts and again, that sneak preview. And in the meantime, enjoy this new animated intro title sequence thing. Okay, the final reason you should never take money from a VC. Reason number 3. Venture capital is not necessarily a good value. Now, what do I mean by value? Well, I actually think of a very specific definition for value. I think of value as being the benefits you get minus the cost it takes for you to get those benefits. So let's break it down and let's start with the cost side of the equation first. What's it going to cost you to take venture capital money? Well, number 1, you're going to have to take part of your baby and sell it to someone else. Now, how much you have to sell and what you get for it is this whole valuation discussion, which I'll cover in another video, but you're gonna take part of your baby and sell it to someone else. Part number 2 is you're gonna give up some control of your company. You don't get to call all the shots. Again, how much control you can negotiate, but you should assume you're gonna be giving up some control. Another cost of taking venture capital money, which we already covered, is you're going to eventually have to sell your baby. Don't need to say any more about that. Also, we haven't discussed this yet, but when VCs put money into a company early, again, usually like the first VC money in, they're not going to want you to take that money and put it in a bank account. They're going to want you to spend that money because they're going to want the business to grow. Now, there's lots of metrics that we look for as investors, but if there's one metric in the early days that matters way more than any other metric in terms of the health of the business, it's growth. It could be growth in users, it could be growth in revenue, but we want to see this business going up and to the right, and we want you to take the money that we gave you and spend it to prove that you can do that. Which means at some point you're going to spend the money we gave you and you're going to need to raise more money, which means you're going to be selling more of your baby to get more capital. You're going to be giving up more control. That whole notion of you being your own boss, forget about it. Again, you're going to be on this course with even higher expectations around selling your business for a certain price. The costs really start to add up. Okay, that's the cost portion. Now let's talk about the benefits. Well, the most obvious benefit is you're gonna get money. You're gonna get money in your bank, and that's gonna allow you to run the business. Again, there's gonna be an expectation that you're gonna spend that money, and you're gonna spend that money on making the business better. You're not gonna be like paying yourself more, but you're gonna get money, and that's clearly the biggest value proposition. If that's not your primary reason, then you should not raise venture capital money. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, Moody, I need the capital, but also what I really need is a mentor, a partner in this journey who's going to help me avoid all those mistakes, the mistakes that you made in your career that you learned from. You're gonna take those and you're gonna guide me to the path of success. That's worth a lot, right? And to that, I'd say maybe, but let me offer 2 alternatives. One is you can get great mentors without raising VC money. There are a lot of successful entrepreneurs that love to engage with first-time founders. Many of them will do it for free. If you love the people you're working with, you can ask them to join your board or become an official advisor, and at some point you might want to give them some equity in the company, or you might want to pay them, but the cost will be far, far less than what it'll take to get a professional investor involved. And the second point is you may end up with a VC that ultimately isn't very helpful. One, they just might not be very capable. There's a lot of VCs out there that really aren't very helpful for whatever reason. They don't have the skill set, they don't have the time, they don't have the inclination, whatever. There's also VCs that will be helpful to a point, like certain stages of the company, they can be very helpful, but as the company grows, they may become less and less helpful, or they may not be helpful in the early days. They can only be helpful when the business really starts to grow. Or, and this is super common, if your business starts to falter and suddenly they sense they're not going to get a good return, they may abandon ship altogether and not really spend time with you. So yes, you could get great mentorship in the benefits column, but you might not. And you might end up with a VC that feels like this. Wow, now that we've officially closed our Series A, I just want to say how excited I am to have somebody of your caliber involved with our company. We're so glad to have you as an investor. You've got a ton of experience. I can't wait to learn from you. I know we're going to do great things together. Sorry, just give me 1 sec. This is super important. Sure. Damn it. Sorry, I was about to get my high score on Candy Crush. So how are sales going since we closed the deal? Well, we just closed this morning, and you and I talked about sales yesterday, so not much has changed, right? I just want to make sure that sales is our number one focus. I mean, honestly, if customers don't buy what you built, none of the other stuff matters. Sales has to be your number one priority. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Sales and marketing, that whole go-to-market thing, that's not really my background or experience, so I'm really looking forward to learning a lot from you. I know that's your area of expertise. Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I helped this company like 8 years ago that does something totally unrelated to what your company does. I helped them with their sales approach, and they ultimately sold for $1.2 billion, and they could have sold for more. I wanted to let it run, but the founders wanted to take the money, so I let them. Yeah, you did mention that story a few times, maybe several times during the fundraise. So where do we start? Well, it all starts with product. I mean, if the product doesn't work, then none of that other stuff matters. So product has to be your number one priority. I'm sorry, I thought you said that sales had to be the number one priority. Did you make that VP engineering hire that I suggested you make yesterday? Because honestly, I think that's probably the most important thing you need to get right. I mean, if you're gonna have this thing scale, you're gonna have to have a great engineering team, and that really starts with the leader. So I'd say, hiring a great VP Eng is your number one priority. I'm sorry, I know that I'm new at this and you're the expert, but I think you're saying that sales, product, and engineering should all be the number one priority. Can't there only be one number one priority? Huh? Yeah, no, totally. That's totally right. That's why you need to learn to focus. Focus is the key here. Focus has to be your number one priority. Remember that random company that I helped 8 years ago that does something totally unrelated to your company? That's what I helped them do, and that's why they were successful and sold for $1.2 billion. They could have sold for more, but the founders wanted to exit earlier. Not sure if I mentioned that. Anyway, this has been great to catch up. I'd like to do this maybe 3-4 times a day for the next 7 to 10 years because, I just want to check in, make sure you're spending my money wisely. So anyway, man, great chat. We'll talk again in a couple hours. Okay, awesome. Look, I'm not saying all VCs are idiots. There are some really good ones out there. I have 4 partners at Foundry, and 3 of them are extremely helpful. Okay, I know I'm going to get, even though I'm clearly joking, I know I'm going to get questions or comments on that. So let me just clarify. All 4 of my partners are awesome and helpful when Seth is sober. The real point here is, depending on the investor, they may be helpful or they may not be helpful. So put in that benefits column the notion of you're going to get a great mentor, somebody that's going to help you on your journey. Maybe. Okay, time to wrap this thing up. Is taking VC money always bad? Of course not. If it was, I'd be out of a job. But the point here is, don't start your business with the assumption that the whole point is to raise money or that you even need to raise money at all. Start by building a lifestyle business. You can always change your mind down the road when you're having overwhelming success. if you need capital, don't start with VCs. Start with other alternatives, friends, family, people that care about you, or people that care about the thing that you're building. They don't have an expectation that they're going to get a 10x return on their money, and you shouldn't set that expectation. You should set the expectation that you're trying to accomplish X and they want X to exist, or they want you doing X, and therefore they're going to give you money. Bootstrap, bootstrap, bootstrap. If you have success, you can always raise money later. If at some point you do decide to raise venture money, you'll be doing it from a point of strength. Let me just give you one concrete example to show you what I'm talking about. Qualtrics, which a couple of years ago sold to SAP for $8 billion in cash. I believe that's the second largest exit by a software as a service company ever in history. That company ran for 11 years without ever taking outside capital. Build a great business. If it becomes clear you've got a great business and you need to take money, you can do it at that point. And I'm back. If you made it this far, thank you. You have incredible endurance. I want to take a second to point out that all the views expressed in all these videos are my own. Many of them are stupid, I think is a good word for it. They're certainly not the views of Foundry Group or my partners. My partners rarely even listen to me, so whatever. Okay, going back and rewatching this, there is one term I want to clarify. I used it several times, and that term is bootstrapping, because it can mean different things to different people, and I had a pretty specific definition in mind when I was talking about it. So for me, bootstrapping simply means not taking outside capital from a professional investor. So what are the alternatives? Well, you can take money from friends and family. I also think angel investors are a viable alternative. Some people might not consider that to be bootstrapping, but I do. The key is to find a good angel investor. Now, what does that mean? One, a good angel cares more about you and the thing that you're building than they care about getting return. They've done lots of investing. They fully expect to lose all their money as part of this, because that is usually the case, but they're willing to put money in because they hope the thing that you're building actually gets built. Finally, in the category of alternatives, I would put accelerators. That's programs like Techstars, which we're investors in. Now, are accelerators professional investors? Technically, they are. However, if you think about that value equation, for an accelerator, the costs are much lower. There just isn't nearly as much baggage. And then the benefits category, the number one benefit is you're going to learn a ton. Their whole purpose is to put you in a learning environment to try and help you succeed. So I think they can be incredibly valuable. The benefits are high and the costs are low. Okay, that's it. I think we've completely exhausted this first goofy topic, and it was a goofy topic. What comes next? I want to talk about startup culture. People are always talking about, how do I build a great culture for my company? And there's a lot of misconceptions, and I also think there's a lot of basic things that you can get right in the early days that will make a huge difference as your business scales. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you've subscribed already, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, I get it. It's a lot to ask. You got to do that whole click thing. It's hard. I'll keep working harder to earn that subscribe. Keep the likes coming, and most important, keep the comments coming. I love hearing from you. Your feedback is super valuable. And that's it. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.